Hollow Knight is one of those games that scratches a special itch for me. Like, it's the perfect Metroidvania. And I've mentioned before that Metroid games are my favorite genre game, or Metroidvanias, I suppose. And I'm more in line with the Metroid part than the Vania part. And Hollow Knight is just perfect for that. It's fast-paced action game full of secrets, places to explore, unique environments, interesting lore, and just it's fun. It's so much fun. You know, I've only ever played it on PC. I don't know how well the experience translates to your controller, but I can tell you, like, I've got it on Steam and I've been playing it ever since. I've synced so many hours into it. And one of the best parts of the game for me are the charms. They're little equipable badges that you can, stick on your character, and they either enhance your natural abilities, give you new ones, or just make the game easier, or in some cases, change how you play it completely. And I just think that's amazing. Because you've got your base kit of abilities, and then just a bunch of badges that change it. It's sort of analogous to, Paper Mario, the original to, Thousand Year Door and the original Paper Mario, or whatever, in which you could put on badges. And that's always been one of my favorite mechanics of that game. And so, just the mix and match ability of the charms in Hollow Knight, just on its own, would make it one of my favorite games. But there's such a great game attached to it that I love it. So what I wanted to do today was think about, well, how useful would the charms in Hollow Knight be in real life? If you could equip. And, of course, I'm aware not all of us are a vessel. We can't focus soul. We can't shoot blasts. Can't do that. So I'll be doing my best to sort of think of something analogous in the everyday person's life. Most of this is just off the rip, so forgive me if I take that. First off, Wayward Compass. So in-game, what Wayward Compass does is it shows you your position on the map. Now, you have to buy these maps, but once you do, if you have Wayward Compass equipped, then you can just open your map, look at it, and you can see your position on it. Now, this might be useful. I don't know how translatable that would be. If you just pulled out a piece of paper, sketched your environment, would you now automatically know where you are on that environment? Or is it just you pull out like a paper map, and now you can just see where you are in real time? Only problem is, now we've got stuff like Google Maps, very accessible on our phones. So, I guess if you were caught without your phone, if you lost it, or if you just don't have a phone with Google Maps or something analogous to it, Wayward Compass could be useful, but just like in the game, if you know your environment enough, you don't need Wayward Compass. So, I don't know. Could be useful. You might want to keep it in your pocket, just carry it around, but it's not something I would have on all the time. Let's see. Glowing Moon. So what Glowing Moon does in the game is, you've got this basically a magic meter full of soul. You can gain soul through a bunch of methods, but what Glowing Moon does is it will slowly drain your soul to create 4 little flying gremlins that circle around and will attack anything in sight. And now I do mean anything. Like, if there is an enemy, they go right for it. You aren't in control of them. So, now this brings up the question of what is soul, and analogous to in our real life. And I choose to think of it as energy or vitality. You can recharge it by, eating or resting or, taking a smoke break. I don't know. But I guess soul is like your vitality or energy. And so I guess like Glowing Moon would make you little gremlin minion guys that just attack anything that's aggressive to you on sight at the cost of some of your energy. And you can't stop these things from spawning. You can't stop them from attacking. They're really just a bunch of kamikaze little guys. I think it'd be funny, but I also think that it would just tire you out super fast. Because this isn't like Hollow Knight where you can regain soul just by smacking enemies. in our world, we can't just go around smacking people and absorbing their life force. How I wish I could, but I can't. And so just having glowing wound equipped would just make you tire out faster and faster. You'd have to eat more, and all the while you're trying to order food, and you've just got these little four guys buzzing around you. You know, you're like, sorry, leave me a second. And they're like, oh, would you hurry up? And then four guys just against the drive-through window, and it's like, Jesus Christ. But before you know it, four more have spawned out of you, and they just go at it again. And before you know it, you're asleep at the wheel. You know, total inconvenience. I would not want to equip glowing. Okay. Gathering Swarm, on the other hand. Now I could see some use for that. Gathering Swarm, what it does in the game is, so anytime you defeat an enemy in the game, they drop some money. It's not every enemy, but generally enemies drop money. And you have to basically run over it to pick it up. What Gathering Swarm will do is automatically pick up the money for you. Okay? Now, this might just be any money in the vicinity. Like, if someone drops their wallet, Gathering Swarm is going to pick it up, a bunch of little bugs, right? They're just going to go grab food. And that could get you into a lot of trouble. Like, you're just walking down the street, there's pennies and nickels and dimes floating into your pockets, and then some poor sod drops their wallet. Before you know it, it's in your hands, and they're like, hey, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, listen, dude, I'm sorry, it was my army of flies. And they said, your army of what? So I said, watch this. Drop the wallet, they pick it right back up. Say, I'm sorry, man. Here, you hold on to it. Yep. So again, I think it'd be funny, and it could lead you into some pretty, hilarious situations. But it could also get you into a lot of trouble that you probably don't. So, Gathering Swarm, another one to just keep in your pocket. But as it stands, I don't think I'd wear it anywhere. Need to get a little more positive. Stalwart Shell. So, in-game, what Stalwart Shell does is it basically gives you more invincibility frames after. Because just like in a lot of games, when you get hit, you have maybe half a second where you can't be damaged. It's for game balance, it's making it more fun, whatever. And Stalwart Shell increases that amount. Translating that into real life, I'd say that it's kind of like a muscle clench reaction. Like, if you trip, or like you fall, or if someone punches you, then your muscles are all going to tense up, and it's kind of like flexing your abs, Like, if you flex your abs, like, you're not really going to get hurt as much when you get pushed because you've hardened your muscles and basically made yourself tougher. Stalwart Shell, I'd say you get hit with Stalwart Shell equipped, now your muscles are going to tense up automatically, and the next hit isn't going to hurt as much. And it's not all the time, right? Because if your muscles were just tensed all the time, you wouldn't really be able to move. But Stalwart Shell just makes you that little bit extra tough. And if you're living in a bad neighborhood, if you know you get into a lot of fights, if you're a boxer or a wrestler, Stalwart Shell might be the thing for you. Make you tougher, make you last longer. It could be great. If I was in a dangerous situation or I was in a job that required a lot of physical effort or strain, I would absolutely have Stalwart Shell equipped all the time. No questions asked. So Stalwart Shell might be our first, hell yeah, all the time. You know what? Give it some points. Soul Catcher. Now, we've already established that soul is pretty much energy, vitality, whatever. And, like I said, in the game, you get soul mostly by just hitting enemies. And so how do you get energy in real life? You eat. And so what I would choose to believe that Soul Catcher does is it gives you more energy from your food. Maybe it helps you digest it better. Maybe it just makes you feel more full. I don't know, maybe it just allows you to eat more and transform that food better into energy. Who can say? But I think that having Soul Catcher equipped would just make you more vital, I guess. Anything that gives you energy normally would just give you more energy if you have Soul Catcher equipped. And I think that'd be great. If you're, you know, an insomniac, you don't get enough energy throughout the day, over the night, I guess, or you're just feeling lethargic, lazy, like you can't do anything during the day, I just slap on Soul Catcher and, you're getting that little extra boost. I think that's great. There is. I know there's another one that is basically Soul Catcher, but like on steroids. Soul Eater, yeah, Soul Eater. Yeah. Soul Eater is literally Soul Catcher, but better. Right? It gets you more energy. Like if you have Soul Eater equipped, you're just peppy all day. You're just bouncing toe to toe. You're like, all right, what's next? Where are we going? What's going on? And if you're just a lethargic person, Soul Eater and Soul Catcher doesn't work for you. Soul Eater might be your thing. Now you do have to wonder when the crash out comes or when that's going to happen, but I don't know. Given that in-game they don't ever seem to run out like an energy drink might do, I think Soul Eater might just be the thing for you. Now, Shaman Stone. Now, what in-game Shaman Stone does is it increases the power and size of your spells. And those spells, once again, use soul. And so what's analogous to a spell? Well, if a spell in-game is the expenditure of soul, then I guess a spell in our real life would be the expenditure of energy. And I'd say that's any sort of, physical, emotional, any sort of strenuous task. I would say Shaman Stone basically makes you better at performing strenuous tasks. So, I guess just, something that gives you an extra kick. Makes you just more effective at pretty much anything. I mean, Shaman Stone in-game is already overpowered, so, you know what? Might as well make you overpowered in real life. And that's the message, kids. You don't have to try, just use performance-enhancing charms. Yeah, Shaman Stone might be another one that you just put on all the time, because it just wouldn't make you better at anything that requires energy of you. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying it would make your life better. Grub Song. Alright. Grub Song, what it does in game is every time you get hit or damaged by an attack, even just damaged by anything, you get a little bit of extra soul, which allows you to, you do everything soul allows you to do. So I guess in real life, Grub Song is just the I didn't hear no bell charm. It's like, sure, you get pushed down, you get hit, your life's being slowly drained away, you're 9 to 5, but you know what? Grub Song on. Oh, you're like, I've got a little more fight left in me. Every time you get pushed down, you pick yourself back up and you say, yeah, no, I can do this. I'm not going to let this, be the end of me. And you know what? That's inspiring. And if you need a charm to help you do that, I have nothing's wrong with that. You know what? You deserve to be happy. You know what? If Grub Song makes you happy, then keep that on all the time. Not everybody needs Grub Song, but I feel like everybody could use a little bit of Grub Song in their life. Grubber Fly's Elegy, though, I don't have an analogy for. Gerberfly's elegy, basically, if you're a full soul, then you can just shoot laser beams. It's one big one big Legend of Zelda reference. I was playing Breath of the Wild earlier today, but no. It's just you shoot sword beams. So I guess when you wake up in the morning, right after you've had your coffee, you can shoot sword beams. Who doesn't want to shoot sword beams? But being serious, I think it's just allowing you to use your energy to your fullest potential, but only when you are fully rested or fully energized. So I don't know, maybe if you're the sort of morning person who wakes up super early, does a bunch of chores, you know, does all their paperwork in the morning, fixes up everything for kids. It might be a good charm for, single parents who have to make sure everything is taken care of in the morning for their kids, for their job, for everything. Because, like I said, it only works when you are at full energy. So, who knows? Maybe it's the perfect tool you need if you are a struggling single parent. But for everybody else, unless you're just an obsessive morning person, it's not going to do too much for you. Sprint Master. Well, listen, who doesn't want to be faster? And Sprint Master just makes you faster. Personally, I'd have that on me all the time. I'm not the fastest person in the world, but with Sprint Master, I'm just a little bit faster. I can get between classes easier. I can get to work easier. If I'm being chased, not anymore because I just outran them. What can I say? If I had Sprint Master, I'd just keep it on because less downtime between everything. I can get pretty much anything I want to do done faster as long as there's a period where I would need to walk or run. It could be cool. And if you're like an athlete or something, I mean, maybe you've got Sprint Master on underneath your clothes, and they're like, well, how does he do it? And you're like, all in a day's work. Now, in that same vein, Dash Master. Now, Dash Master in the game, what it does is it just makes it so that you can dash more often. And, I don't know, you can't dash in real life. You can run, you can sprint in real life. So I guess Dash Master would just make it easier for you to sprint or, cover short distances quickly. Well, I don't have an analogy for the going downwards thing, which is where you can dash downwards if you're in the air, but I guess really it would just make you better at short bursts of exercise. And you know what? Who doesn't want that? If you're working out or you're in some sort of competition or you're just trying to impress somebody, you say, oh, check this out. You try and lift something really heavy. Dash Master might make you a little better at doing those little bursts of energy. Or if you're sprinting, if you're doing track and field, Dash Master. What can I say? Sprint Master, Dash Master. If I was one of those sporty types, I'd do it. Alright, for the fragile charms, I'm just going to say that you have their unbreakable forms, because, who doesn't? Unbreakable. Alright. Unbreakable Heart. I would say what Unbreakable Heart does is it just makes you, well, I don't know. Because if soul is energy, then what is health? I guess it's, well, your health, I guess. It's just how hard you are to kill. Fragile Heart just makes you tougher to kill. Like, you can just pick yourself up. Even if your energy's low, even if you're just barely clinging on to life, with, Unbreakable Heart equipped, you might have just that little bit of extra vitality to run away. It's hard to talk about any sort of one that increases your health. Maybe it's like, it's difficult to talk about because most people aren't going around getting stabbed and ripped apart by insects like the vessel is. But I don't know. But yeah, I'd say that Unbreakable Heart really just makes you a tougher guy. Can I say? Um, Unbreakable Greed, now that's where it just gets you some more money. That's what I'm saying. You know, uh, invincible. But yeah, so I guess what Unbreakable Greed would do is just makes you a more persuasive haggler. You know, you can get more money out of things. You know, you ask your boss for a raise, he says no. Well, if you had Unbreakable Greed equipped, maybe you would have gotten that raise. You know, you find some extra money on the street. You know, you talk down a pawn shop owner. Like I said, you get special deals. You know, if you are a business-minded person or the CEO of some company or a representative, Unbreakable Greed is the one for you because listen, it's all about the moolah. It's all about the moolah. Yeah. Um, and Unbreakable Strength. Again, if you're in a dangerous situation, if you're a boxer, a wrestler, if you work a hard labor job, if you're a construction worker, a mover, anything like that, and you need to be strong to do your job or just to survive, hey, why not hop on Unbreakable Strength and just, live your life? You know what? But go through it a little bit easier. So yeah. So Unbreakable Greed and Unbreakable Strength both have very good applications. Um, Unbreakable Heart, I don't really know, but if you're in a dangerous situation, if you're like having to protect your family or your loved ones, and the only thing that really matters is you don't get knocked down, you just stay up, keep fighting, you know what? Unbreakable Heart might be for you, but that's a little less applicable than the other two. Um, Quick Slash. I'd say Quick Slash would make in game what it does is it just makes it so that you attack faster. Now, translating that to real life, I choose to believe that that just makes you more dexterous and precise. If maybe it could make you a better rider. It could make you, if you're a fencer, it could make you fence better. If you have to just, if you work with your hands, it might make you more, tactilely minded. You're a sewer. Who knows? It's, again, most people don't swing around swords or nails. But, if you're working with your hands, Quick Slash might just make you better with your hands. Um, who knows? I mean, it might just be something good to have on sometimes. But I don't see it being as heavy blow. I'd say it's like Unbreakable Strength, but kind of worse. It just makes you strong. Like, strong enough to the point where you can, exert a lot of force, but not necessarily strong. Like it's the difference between punching someone to the ground and holding them on the ground. Sure, you can exert a lot of force in a single blow, but Unbreakable Strength is more, I can exert a lot of force over a prolonged period of time. So, heavy blow is just the worst Unbreakable Strength, but not totally useless. Again, if you were in a dangerous situation, or in a job where a lot of physical effort is required, heavy blow might be the one for you. And, Long Nail and Mark of Pride, I don't know. Maybe they just make you better at reaching shit. I don't know. Again, most people don't carry around swords. And the ones that do are either weirdos that you don't want to interact with, or they are pretty cool. And if you're carrying around Long Nail or Mark of Pride, I'd say you fall into the weirdo category because what, you're compensating for something? But gosh, I don't know. So I guess if you are some sort of fencer or sword fighter or professional actor, they might just, I don't know, increase your skill with a bladed weapon. Probably one of the least applicable ones on this list, honestly. Not useless, but very, very situational. Probably not useful. Um, Flukeness. Gross. Uh, so you know when I talk about glowing, so it's summons the little fly gremlin guys all around you? Right, in game, Flukeness makes it so that you can expend some of your soul to create this bugs. You just shoot bugs, little grub guys. I don't want to shoot grub guys, you know. I don't want to do that. But so I guess analogous to real life, you could draw upon the power of the earth and summon the horde of little grub guys. I if you're like if you raise birds for a living, or if you have a garden, I guess you might want to summon some grub guys, but I wouldn't. Fluke Nest is completely useless. I don't want it. Uh, Steady body. Maybe it just makes you tougher. Because in game, what steady body, what steady body does is it doesn't make you flinch. Basically, you know, when you attack, when you shoot spells, it just doesn't make you flinch. You can just stand still and do it. So maybe it's something that increases your maybe resolve, toughness, stance. Who knows? Maybe just all around makes you better at any sort of martial art or, you know, physical effort. It's not something for everybody, but I keep bringing up the example of people in dangerous situations or in, you know, high energy expenditure jobs. But steady body might just be good for that. I mean, most charms in Hollow Knight are combat based, right? So, you know, there's not really much I can do about it. Don't at me. But yeah. Soul Twister. Now, spell twister. That's what it is. So spell twister, what it does in the game is pretty much anytime you use soul to cast a spell, it reduces the soul cost of that. It's super useful in here. And so I guess in real life, what it would do is, you know, just make you more energetic. You know, anything that requires energy of you, spell twister might just make it a little more bearable. You know, you get through the day a little easier, you have more energy at the end of it. You know, you have more energy to do more things with your life. Maybe some more things that you enjoy or wanted to do instead of just what you had to do. So yeah, spell twister. I'd put it on all the time. If that's what it did, that is what I would use it for. You know, just to have more energy at the end of the day, to get my work done faster and better. You know, it's just something that's good for everybody. You know, everybody needs a spell twister. Uh, what, quick focus. Alright, what quick focus allows you to do in game is so you can spend soul to recover health in game. And what quick focus does is allows you to do that faster. Now, in real life, people can't just say, okay, I'm gonna become more tired in order to, you know, restore any damage done to my body. You can't actually do that. But, you know, people do recover, like their bodies naturally heal. And they can't really do that if you don't have energy and you aren't eating and sleeping and doing whatever. So I would say what quick focus allows you to do is basically just recover from injuries faster. Like, let's say you broke your leg. If you had quick focus, you might heal faster. You you just got a cut on your arm. Well, that skin's gonna heal faster. You know, who knows? I can't go into the exact details of how it works because nothing like it exists in real life. But if it did do that, like if you got injured a lot, it might be good for you. And there's deep focus. So what deep focus allows you to do is, at the cost of, a much slower period of time in which you are, a longer period of time in which you are healing, you heal twice as much. So I guess it's like the counterpart to quick focus. It takes longer for you to recover from any sort of injury, but you're gonna come back. You can come back from way worse stuff. Like, let's say you've got, your leg was almost completely severed. The doctors just barely saved it. Well, I mean, with quick focus, sure, you're gonna recover quickly, but I mean, it might not be back to the way it was. You might walk with a limp for the rest of your life. But with deep focus, no, that's sure, you're going to take, might even take you months or years to get back to normal. But, it's going to be just as good as it was. It's going to be like nothing ever happened with deep focus. So, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the severity of the injury and the nature of the healing process. Whether you want quick focus or deep focus, maybe you want both, and then you get both benefits. A faster recovery time, and you're all the way back to normal. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Those two. Boulder Shell, Boulder's game. Boulder Shell. I'd say, so in-game what Boulder Shell does is when you are, healing, you're surrounded by this essentially shell, and it'll block all damage, but if it gets hit, then your healing is interrupted. Alright? Now, like I said, we can't really do healing, but I think it's kind of analogous to the Stalwart Shell. Basically, it makes you better at defending against any sort of attack or injury. Let's say somebody throws a hammer at you, you're like, shoot a hammer, and you try and block it. I'd say maybe it increases your knowledge of how to block attacks, or if a rock's falling, then you know how to makes you better protects your vital areas. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah. I guess it just makes you a tougher dude, And who doesn't want to be a tougher dude? Yeah. Who doesn't want to be a tougher dude? Anyways. Yeah. On the subject of defensive charms, Thorns of Agony. So what it does is, if you get hit in the game, then essentially a bunch of thorns will come out of you and damage anything that got close to you. And I don't know, maybe it makes you better at countering attacks or, retaliating. Someone throws something at you, maybe you can catch it and throw it back. Somebody throws a punch, deflect, get the back. Like I said, a lot of these are combat based and are only really going to be useful in real life in combat scenarios. But I think it would just increase reaction time and, just make you better at countering. That's great. You know what? Again, dangerous situation. This is more of a dangerous situation. So, if you're living in a dangerous situation, Thorns of Agony might be good for you. Fury of the Fallen. Fury of the Fallen. That's interesting. I guess it's like a super adrenaline boost. Like, if you're on your last legs, you're about to pass out, or, your life's in danger. If you've got Fury, real people already get a big adrenaline boost in those sort of dangerous situations. Some people, have more of a flight response, but if you get a fight response, then you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready for this. And in game, what it does is if you are on one health, what it does is, it massively increases your attack. And so, real life, it's like the super adrenaline boost, like I said. If your life's endangered, if you got Fury of the Fallen, you basically turn into a juggernaut. Sure, a light breeze and you're down, but you are just wailing away. Nothing's going to stop you. Until they do stop you, and then you're dead. Or you pass out, whatever. Shape of a moon. In game, it turns you into a little slug guy. What am I doing with my life? Let's discuss the practical implications of turning into a little slug guy. Let's say that you want to get out of a party. Oh, now I'm a little slug guy. I'm just gonna go out under the door. You're at a party and everybody's like, oh, come on, do something cool, and you're like, watch this. And you turn into a little slug guy. You get, someone's about to throw a punch at you. You're like, and you turn to a little slug guy. You're trying to pick up girls at a bar, and you're like, watch this, and you turn into a little slug guy. There are a million different things you could do if you could turn into a little slug guy. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't turn into a little slug guy, but you, my friend, right there, watching this video, might turn into a little slug guy. And I respect that. Spore shroom. A little kind of morbid body horror-ish, but I guess it just allows you to release toxic clouds of spores from your skin. Ugh. I can't imagine it would be anything but painful and horrible too, but I mean, if you're determined, if people gang up on you, you're like, back away, fellas, and they're like, oh no, we're gonna get you, man. We're gonna kill you, stab you with knives, whatever. You're like, okay. Mustard gas from your skin. Isn't that great? Wouldn't that be wonderful? No, it wouldn't be. It would suck. So yeah, spore shroom, not going for it. Oh, here's interesting. Lifeblood core. So in-game, lifeblood is a mechanic where basically gives you temporary hit points. It increases your health temporarily, but once you lose that health, you can't get it back. So there's Lifeblood Core, Lifeblood Heart, and Joni's Blessing. So Lifeblood Core and Lifeblood Heart, they just give you Lifeblood automatically. You can't heal it back just like normal, but once you have it, you've got a little bit of extra health, And I choose to believe in real life that sort of equates to okay, imagine getting a kick of really strong coffee. You drink a cup and suddenly you're all, you are locked in. You can see a million colors. You are, nothing stopping you. You are not going down. But as the day goes by, it slowly goes down. You can't really get it back because you drink the coffee at the beginning of the day, and sure, you can have another cup, but I mean, it's not going to do too much for you. not nearly as much as the first one did. So Lifeblood Core and Lifeblood Heart. Lifeblood Core is just the even stronger cup of coffee. Joni's Blessing is the strongest damn cup of coffee you've ever had. But the problem is, it is so strong that it's gotten to the point where you can't live without it. Like, if you don't drink that coffee, then you're just going to drag yourself out of bed and just fall asleep with a drop of a hat. You know? Like, you wake up and you shakily put the charm on, and you're back up, and you're like, I'm ready. But then the day just wears you down. Like, Lifeblood Heart and Lifeblood Core, sure, at a certain point, the effects are gone, and you're just the normal you again. But once you put on Joni's Blessing, like, that's it. Like, it's over for you. There's no coming back from that. So, I don't know. I might dabble a bit in Lifeblood Heart or Core, but Joni's Blessing, I would keep that far away from me. And on that subject, Hive Blood. So, what in-game Hive Blood does is it allows you to automatically regenerate health over time. And so, I guess, I don't know, it's just passively. You know, maybe your body automatically heals from injuries even faster than it would with quick focus or deep focus. Maybe it makes you a healthier person. Maybe it makes you more resistant to disease or infection. There could be so many ways to interpret Hive Blood. But anyway, it's just going to make you a healthier person. You are just living a better life. And that's great. It only works on recent injuries or ailments or afflictions, but hey, you're just a healthier person living a better life with Hive Blood. We all need Hive Blood. And in that same sense, there's King Soul. What King Soul does is allows you to automatically regenerate soul in the game, which is mana. And so, in real life, King Soul would just let you automatically regenerate energy. You know, I mean, anybody can sit around for a bit, relax, and get their energy back. But with King Soul, you don't even have to sit down and relax. Like, just throughout the day, you can feel your energy returning to your body. You know, you put that on, sure, it takes up a lot of space. It's a little inconvenient to carry around, but as long as you have that on you, you are not going to get tired. You know, even with just a tiny, short little break, you are just back on. You're back up, ready to go. Nothing is going to get you down. You know? And with no adverse side effects either. Like, there's no Joni's Blessing type situation where it's like, oh, I need this to survive. With King Soul, no, it just really makes you the better version of yourself. And that's amazing. But then Void Heart. Void Heart does nothing. It literally does nothing. It's in-game, it does nothing. I mean, it makes ghosts not attack you, which is cool, I guess. So if anyone's out there getting tormented by ghosts, King Soul might be the thing. I mean, Void Heart might be the thing for you. And what's worse is that once you have Void Heart, I mean, you don't even have King Soul anymore. So, like, what? No way, dude. I mean, it lets you get the secret endings. Aha. I do love those secret endings. So if life has a secret ending, maybe you need Void Heart to get it. Only a few left now. Sharp Shadow. I'd say, I guess it would allow you to use your momentum as a sort of attack. Like, let's say you're a fencer. Again, I bring up fencing a lot, because in the game you have a sword, right? You know, it makes you better at lunges and thrusts. You know, it might make you better at tackling somebody. You know, if you're doing wrestling and you were shoulder bashing someone, might make you better at doing that. Because really, in game, what it does is when you dash, then you can deal damage with that dash, and it makes you dash longer. So, I don't know. It just allows you to weaponize your momentum. I don't know what you want me to say. It's fun. Nail Master's Glory. Same field as, Long Nail and Mark of Pride. It just makes you a better weapon user. It increases your skill. And that brings me to the question, if these did exist in real life, would they be allowed or would they not be allowed in, Olympic competitions? Because I'd imagine they'd be analogous to performance-enhancing drugs. Oh, well, he wouldn't have been able to do that if he didn't have the charm, so why should he be able to do that if I can't? So, I don't know. Yeah, but I think they'd be interesting if the rule was you don't have to use it if you don't want to use it, but if you do use it, then everybody will be notified of your use of them, and whatever. But Nail Master's Glory just makes you better at doing fancy tricks with a sword. Weaver Song. Now, Weaver Song is like the better version of Glowing Woo. I can't believe I did Glowing Woo second. That was a crazy charm to do second, but Weaver Song basically makes these little spider gremlins that jump all around and attack stuff. And that's funny. That's just funny. Like you walk into a room and, your boss is like, hey, thanks for coming in. And you're like, hey, boss. And then a spider comes out and attacks them. Well, it's like, oh, shit. And you're like, oh, my bad. You squish it. You're like, Jesus, can you believe that? And then another one comes out and gets him. And then another and another. And you keep squishing him. And you and your boss have this wholesome bonding moment where you're just killing infinitely respawning spiders. And he just totally forgets what he's going to talk about because he's just too distracted by the onslaught of spiders. And you say, look, maybe I should get out of here and call an exterminator. And he's like, yeah, do it. Yeah, you're a good employee, you take initiative. And you're like, shucks, it's no problem. You take off the charm. And you're like, rising up in the ranks. It's all about the moolah. It's all about the moolah. Yeah. But in all reality, it probably wouldn't be that useful, but it would definitely be entertaining. It would get you into a lot of wacky situations. So, who wouldn't? Who doesn't want it? Grimchild. Sticking with the theme of creating little minion guys, Grimchild basically makes a little devil guy that follows you around and attacks stuff for you. I could use a little demon guy that follows me around and attacks stuff for me. I mean, someone's pissing me off. Get that guy. Come on. Yeah. Demon Child, fuck this guy. What? Yeah, come on, fuck him up. Twist his dick. Stuff like that, And who doesn't want that? Plus, they're a fun little, it's like a dog. You equip a charm and suddenly you've got a dog. Wow! How fun. And except the dog, it spews fireballs from its mouth. The best dog I've ever heard of. And let's see, Carefree Melody. That's the one that you can get instead of Grimchild. Carefree Melody, it's like Stalwart Shell, except instead of taking a hit and not getting knocked down, it just makes you better at dodging hits. If you're a boxer, you gotta bob and weave. It makes you bob and weave better. Hey, if you're any boxers out there, you could use that. Dream Shield. That makes a big fucking shield rotate around you. That might be fun. I could definitely use a big shield rotate with me, except we know that from in-game, it sucks. So don't even bother. What's the point? Sure, sure, maybe once in a while it'll protect you from something, but most of the time you just got this giant metal plate orbiting around you, you're trying to talk to somebody, and you're like, okay, yeah, so last week I was going down to the car dealership, and they charged me like $500. And now Jennifer is saying, oh, well, now you're spending all your money on the car. And I'm like, well, look, I'm trying, baby, but if the car doesn't work, then I can't really come and see you. And she's like, so anyways, now we're getting a dog. And your friend's like, what? What? And you're like, well, didn't you hear? You're like, no, you had a giant shield rotating around you all the time. And you're like, my stupid shield. And then someone throws a rock at you, and it hits you, of course, because the shield was on the other side. What's the point? And the last one is Dream Wielder. Yeah, Dream Wielder. Had to contemplate Dream Wielder for a second there. Dream Wielder. What doth a Dream Wielder? So, Dream Wielder, what it does is in-game there's an item called the Dream Name. Basically, it lets you hit an enemy and read their mind and restore a bit of soul. And Dream Wielder basically makes you restore more soul by hitting enemies with a Dream Nail. Now, problem is, we don't have Dream Nails, and it's illegal to hit people. So, I don't know, I guess if you're some sort of voodoo witch doctor who can siphon people's energies from their body, I mean, maybe Dream Wielder might make you a little better at siphon. If you're a vampire, Dream Wielder might be great for you. But given that there are no voodoo witch doctors, and there are no vampires, and there are no soul-sucking, mind-bending anything, Dream Wielder is just a cool dream catcher. And if you're some sort of wacko, crazy psychic, it's good for you. You could use it. But to the average person, no, the sane person, it's totally useless. So, that's my list. We had more than a few great ones, especially if you are a construction worker or you live in a bad neighborhood. But the vast majority of them are just useless to the right person, except for the few that are just fun utility ones. Some of them, if they were real, I would be wearing them around all the time. And I can say that with confidence. But anyways, that's about all I've got for you today. I'll see you when Hollow Knight becomes real.